Welcome to this webinar. This webinar is about the challenges of skill mapping and organization in a changing world. I'm really excited to be here with you today, and I hope you are as well. If you cannot stick around for the whole session, please send me your email, either by email or in the comments section, and I will forward you a copy at the end of the webinar. Let's head straight into this. The agenda is as following. Firstly, we will look at some of the ways businesses are solving the skills gap today. This will lead us over to exploring one of the new approaches for businesses to organize around skills. In looking at some of the challenges with this new approach, we have to touch upon the legacy of competence mapping. Lastly, we will go through some real-world cases or scenarios. And before we complete, we'll have a short introduction to Quadim and the way that we are solving some of these issues. A short introduction. My name is Selena Stenberg, and I'm one of the co-founders of Quadim. Over the last few years, I worked with the distributed development team to realize Quadim as a platform. It kind of all started with the question, why are competencies and skills so hidden in an organization that sells technical skills to the marketplace? I was working for an IT consultancy at the time, and I really didn't feel like the CV system was providing me with good enough data. Before this, I have 10 years experiences with working with search, recruitment, and headhunting of IT specialists at different positions and levels in an organization. I will start with two quotes to set the stage for the webinar. The first one is from a report by Deloitte, which I will be sharing a little bit of information from during this webinar. I will share a link to the report in the comments section, so for those who are interested in pursuing the report. 77% of business executives agree their organization should help their workers become more employable with relevant skills, but only 5% strongly agree they are investing enough in helping people learn new skills to keep up with the changing world of work. The second quote is actually from a large Norwegian company's competence strategy. Knowledge and competence used to be the most important assets for organizations. Now it's all about being able to learn faster than your competitors. We can see that learning of new skills and ensuring that the employees have the necessary skills are currently very hot topics for many organizations. If we look at some of the key drivers of change, we can't really separate the need for fast skill building and learning from the notion that continuous change is the new status quo. The pandemic is a really good example where change can happen very quickly, and the effects of that change lead to new needs, practices, and habits. The pandemic led to most companies becoming even more dependent on digital tools, as many of the employees never came back to the office. Another example is the rapid technological development and advancement, which in turn is driving both competition and the need for innovation. Changing market circumstances, new competition from disruptive newcomers, falling demand for existing products is forcing businesses to redefine their offerings, investments, and also business areas, with the consequences for the type of skills that are needed. A skills gap refers to the discrepancy between knowledge, expertise, and ability to perform a certain role or a task. In light of the very fast pace of technological advancements, the need for technical skills and digital skills have increased. Almost 60% of all new roles contain digital or technical skills in their requirements. In a large study by Fujitsu, 2/3 of IT leaders responded that they fear the consequences of the skill gap. And almost 70 to 75% respond they actually lack the necessary skills and talent. 76% of businesses in a very large UK study believe that lack of digital skills would hit their profitability. And research shows that businesses believe that the reliance on advanced digital skills is set to increase over the next 5 years. How are businesses solving the skills gap? Before the pandemic, the focus of many companies was on attracting and recruiting the right people, using mechanisms such as employer branding and to highlight differences, and obviously culture to emphasize attractiveness. In addition, the boom in the recruitment industry illustrates how competitive the nature involved in securing the right people is. If that fails, businesses could always hire expensive local competencies from consultancies, or they could try cheap remote workers. However, after the pandemic, researchers have detected a change. The current focus and investments for many businesses is about skill building and closing the skills gap, according to McKinsey. They also say that efforts to retrain or improve the skills of their employees have doubled since the pandemic began. Deloitte, in the same report I've already referred to, has detected a shift from traditional jobs to a more skill-based approach. This approach is gaining ground and is advocated by leading thinkers such as Raveen Jeswathan and John Boudreau in the recent book Work Without Jobs. The idea is that we're moving away from standardized tasks and functional jobs in hierarchical structures and siloed departments to seeing the person more as a collection of skills and capabilities. The business, on the other hand, is seen as having a set of needs and priorities that can be matched with available skill sets. These are some of the reasons given for driving this change. Workers demand more autonomy, talent shortages and skill gaps, which we've already discussed. The need for agility must be seen in light of the fast pace of the change we've also discussed, and the digital transformation give rise to the need for new skills. And the decreasing relevance of jobs as workers are having to adapt to new market conditions and digital realities. From the research that Deloitte has done, it is clear that the moving away from jobs to skills in what they call a skill-based organizations is showing clear signs of success. Organizations that embed a skills-based approach are 63% more likely to achieve results, 98% more likely to retain high performers, and indirectly solving some of the issues connected to skills gap. Looking at the rest of the data, it is clear that the skills-based approach is having a positive impact across the board in a positive employee experiences and reputations, including improving processes to maximize efficiency and innovation. How do we get quality data and increase our common understanding of skills? What are some of the blocks to this new approach? From what we see in this figure, it is clear. Skills are hugely complex. They're open to change. They're difficult to evaluate because we lack a common understanding of skill language definitions and taxonomies. And there's a lack of efficient skill-related technologies. And that's where Quadim comes in. And really, this brings us to the legacy of competence mapping, which truly remain one of the most unrealized needs for both HR and technology leaders. According to Evidenta, who supplies questionnaires for HR managers in Norway, one of the biggest frustrations for HR today is the lack of systems that assist in skill building and mapping. Most report that they find it demanding to survey and build competences across the organization. And really, in order to know what the business will need in the future, we kind of need to know what we have today. However, if you mention competence mapping or skill mapping to any HR person, they kind of respond with anxiety because of the many previous failed attempts. I remember well a conversation I had with a HR manager where I mentioned what I wanted to solve with Quadim. He had 30 years experience and he looked at me and he laughed and he said, "We've tried this, it's not possible." If we look at how mapping is carried out, we kind of also see why such processes often fail. Questionnaires and interviews are tedious processes. The result is a lot of unstructured data, which is difficult to both understand and analyze afterwards. And from our own research, HR systems have competency modules that are rarely bought or used. Reasons cited is that they're too complex, unsuitable, and depending on one person to input large quantities of data, which means that that's never done. Competence mapping as a service is something several companies offer to the marketplace. In this case, an expert group are brought in and they carry out the actual competence mapping. This is hugely expensive, and the result is only a snapshot that can't be used over time. And you might kind of be asking, but aren't there other systems that solve this problem? After all, we have multiple systems that touch upon skills, such as recruitment systems, CV systems, talent management systems, knowledge management systems, and more open social media-based recruitment platforms. And here, we're coming to the heart of the problem with competence mapping. We see that most processes and systems define competence as a key word. Because if we ask the question, what is really competence? The answer is that competence, after all, is a combination of skills, knowledge, and expertise. And now we've reached the point in the webinar where we're going to be looking at some real-world examples. The first case is a large Norwegian/international corporation with 20,000 employees. Hugely complex technical organization. What they found is that they had to divide all of the IT areas up into learning areas or learning groups, such as networking, operating systems, computer engineering, high-performance computing, collaboration tools, programming and scripting, UX, UI and visualizations, industrial IoT, and data analysis, to mention a few. What they found is that if they had critical mass into each of these areas, that was enough for the company to secure against skill gaps. But for the vast majority of the companies out there, they don't have critical mass in these areas. So they don't have the same advantages. The second case is also a large Norwegian/international company. They have 10,000 employees. For them, the challenges were a bit different. They decided to reorganize the whole organization into new business areas. To do this, HR was tasked to map the whole organization. They did this in Excel sheet with a lack of actual system that can do this job. What they found was that for the vast majority of employees, they don't have a very good awareness of what skills or expertise they actually have. So there is a job here to be done on manager level, ensuring that they help their employees know more about their contribution to the organization. In addition, when it came to the top level positions, the new leadership positions in the new business areas, they hired a company to do that job. They came in with their own process, identified which of the managers were possible candidates into this new structure. However, during a reorganizations with new management, how can employees ensure that it is actually known what they have contributed with before the reorganization? The third case is a large law firm. And one of the challenges they had was that when it came to the lawyers, partners, and attorneys, they had a tendency to only collaborate with the people they know. And they wanted to implement a new type of organizing model around experiences and skills. What they did was to build an experience database with all the cases that they have won or lost in the organization. And then they set up a quite crude skill matrix that they created on their own. The challenge is that this strategy is dependent on an administration who maintains the data. However, with simple mechanisms, they improve their profitability with almost 15%. Imagine what even better data and systems has the capacity to achieve. We've finally reached the point in which we introduce Quadim. The prerequisite for success must be about ensuring data quality over time. And how does one achieve that? Our hypothesis is that commitment to own competence and skills can only come from the employees themselves. They are the key to good skill data. We have a lot to learn from social media, where people share a lot of information about themselves voluntarily when they are in charge. Why? Because of ownership. Quadim is therefore built so that employees can reap the benefits and value they get by sharing information about their own expertise, growth, and learning. For competency data to be of high quality means that we have to move away from simplifying competence down to a key word. That's why in Quadim we have modeled and structured competence as a version graph. That means that it supports change over time and also enables us to see competence and skill relationships and context. The value: live, updated, visualized competence data to quickly identify strengths and gaps, which can be used to reorganize the organizations around needs and skills. If we look at the new model that's being suggested for work in the workforce, we see that Quadim exists as part of what Deloitte is referring to as the Skills Hub. We're a skills technology platform where it's possible to create a common framework and language around skills. Hence, we see ourselves really as the enabler for any business to transition to a skills-based organizations, where individuals are seen as having unique portfolios of skills and attributes rather than occupying standardized jobs. And what is Quadim? Quadim is a data-driven skill platform for both business employees. We basically gather the world of skills into one platform for all your company's skills to ensure that you get the most out of your most important assets, the people. Quadim is therefore the new way to both map, measure, track, and search and share skills within an organization. The result? Better data means better decisions. All right, I think that was everything for today. We've been through the whole webinar. If you have any questions or any comments or anything, please don't hesitate to contact me either by email or give me a call. Thank you very much for today.